Welcome, welcome as folks are trickling in. Just a few more minutes and we will get started. All right, I think we're at a good spot. I know folks are still going to be logging in, but they will be able to pick right up where we are. So we will go ahead and get started. I just want to say thanks everyone for joining us today. This is the third of 4 Lunch and Learns, the Scajaquada September. And we're grateful that you guys are here hanging out with us and some of our partner organizations in Western New York. Before we jump right in, I just want to make sure that we thank our sponsors who have helped make Scajaquada September and Buffalo Niagara Waterkeepers work possible. So many thanks to the Rich Family Foundation, to Labatt USA, to M&T Bank, and to Life Storage. A couple more housekeeping things, just so everyone is aware, this webinar is recorded. So if you have to hop off at any point, we will have the recording shared within the next couple days to YouTube, and we'll have the link for that posted at scajaquadaseptember.com. If you have any questions during the webinar, we will be able to answer those at the end. So please use the Q&A feature down at the bottom of your screen to enter in those. Today, we're going to be hearing from Buffalo Niagara Waterkeepers Ecological Program Manager, Holly Kistner, as well as some special guest speakers from the Black Rock Riverside Alliance, Be Well, and Grassroots Gardens. Just an agenda for today. We're going to start off with just an overview for anyone new who Waterkeeper is, as well as some of the work that we're currently undertaking in the Scajaquada Creek corridor. We're also then going to get updates and overviews from Black Rock Riverside Alliance, Grassroots Gardens, and Be Well. We're then going to have a small Q&A moderated question and answer session about just our organization and all of the organization chairs' connections to our freshwater resources and to Scajaquada Creek. And then we're going to wrap up with a little bit more about what's coming up in Scajaquada September, and then we'll have time for any questions at the end. Adam, we can go to the next slide. Awesome. For anyone here who is new to Waterkeeper, unfamiliar with our organization, we are a nonprofit environmental organization. And our mission really is to protect and restore our waterways and our surrounding ecosystem for the benefit of current and future generations. We are coming up on our 35th anniversary next year. And really over the past 35 years, we have been the guardians of Western New York's freshwater as part of the globally significant Great Lakes Basin. So all of that freshwater, 95% of the United States freshwater is right at our doorstep. Our mission and doing this work is really fourfold. So we work to protect clean water, we restore both the waterways and the surrounding ecosystems, we work to connect people to their waterways, and we inspire economic activity along the waterways and inspire community engagement. With that, I will pass it over to Holly to talk a little bit more about what a watershed is and where in Western New York we're going to be focusing on today.
Danny. So building off what Danny said, our work at Buffalo Niagara Waterkeeper covers the Niagara River and Lake Erie watershed. So in order to understand our work, it's really important to understand what a watershed is. And so a watershed is the land area that drains all streams, rainfall, and stormwater to a shared body of water. So that's to say, if a drop of rain falls on land and the ground is saturated, the water will effectively run downhill until it ends up in a shared body of water, such as the Niagara River, and thus all that land is the Niagara River watershed. So it gets a little tricky though, because watersheds nest inside of each other. So look, for example, at the watershed map we have here on the left side of the screen. Rain falling in South Buffalo, for example, would run first into the Buffalo River. So South Buffalo is within the Buffalo River watershed. However, water in the Buffalo River flows eventually into Lake Erie and then the Niagara River. So South Buffalo is also in the Niagara River watershed. And because the Niagara River flows into Lake Ontario, it's all connected to this Great Lakes watershed too. Next slide, Adam. So understanding that nested system of watersheds is really important because it connects our local actions to bigger scale water quality issues and solutions. Here at Waterkeeper, we use watersheds to help us understand why our waterways are in the state they are in, because the practices on the land affect the body of water at the heart of whatever watershed you are in. And as I'm sure you all know, the Scajaquada Creek watershed is quite densely populated from the headwaters in Lancaster to the mouth at the city of Buffalo. And this watershed has a lot of challenges that cause impairments to the creek. But fortunately, a lot of work is being done to address these challenges. Last week at Lunch and Learn number 2, we talked about all of the projects and programs that Waterkeeper is doing in the Scajaquada Creek watershed. So if you saw that Lunch and Learn, and even if you didn't, it's recorded on our YouTube channel, so I recommend checking it out. But obviously there's a lot going on internally here at Waterkeeper to restore Scajaquada Creek. But we also recognize that a lot of work is happening in the Scajaquada Creek corridor that's being led by folks outside of Waterkeeper too. So we are very tuned in to the proposed downgrade of the 198 Expressway, New York State DEC's remediation work, Buffalo Sewer Authority's green infrastructure initiatives, just to name a few. All of these projects relate to creek health. Next slide, Adam. So given all that is challenging Scajaquada Creek throughout the watershed and all the momentum building to restore the creek corridor and improve ecosystem and community resiliency, Waterkeeper recently went after and received funding from NOAA to zoom out and look at the creek more holistically. We were recently awarded this funding and the project ends in June of 2026. So as part of this funding, we are going to create a plan for Scajaquada Creek restoration that is watershed-wide, actionable, and community-driven. Next slide, Adam. So in summary, the highest level overview possible, there's a lot going on in the Scajaquada Creek corridor. There's a lot of challenges, which we've touched on during multiple Lunch and Learns previously, and it's very important to understand the reality of those challenges. But it's also important to understand that there's a lot of restoration work happening internal to Waterkeeper and a lot of restoration work happening external to Waterkeeper. And as part of our Scajaquada Creek restoration planning project, we want to help bring these pieces of the puzzle together and, excuse my water pun, make sure we're all rowing in the same direction, especially as it relates to connecting the community to all the ongoing work, sharing opportunities for folks to be involved, and amplifying the community's perspectives throughout this work. So we are working with a lot of great partners to do this. And I'm super excited for you all to meet the three organizations who are joining here today. However, I would be remiss if I didn't also mention Ms. Helen Harris Harvey, the president of the Trinidad Neighborhood Association, Cindy Amaro from Monarch of Infinite Possibilities, and George Johnson and Nakia Harris from Friends of Project Park and Buffalo United Front, who've also been collaborating closely with Waterkeeper to develop this project. We are so grateful for all the community support and all of our partners. And with that said, I'll kick it to Danny to introduce the wonderful partners who are presenting with us today.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Hallie. So first, we'd like to kick it off with our friends from Black Rock Riverside Alliance. I'd like to introduce everyone to Anne McCooey. I've just got a brief introduction to each of our speakers. So Anne is a Western New York native. She has spent multiple decades working in the non-for-profit sector with local, regional, national, and international organizations. She's always wanted to improve the quality of life for those in her community and has worked with the Alliance since 2018, last year being named the first executive director for this 12-year-old volunteer-based organization. Their mission really is to improve the quality of life for those in the northwest corner of Buffalo. During her time with the BRRA, she has brought in over $1 million in grants to the community for everything from public art to play elements in community green spaces to renovating storefronts along the Niagara Street corridor to creating wildlife habitats in urban settings. She's particularly proud of the funds that she's raised for the projects and programs, that over 85% of those go directly into the programs. Her hobbies of photographing and gardening and her love of animals all feed into her passion for wanting to help improve our environment for future generations to enjoy. With that, Anne, I'll pass it over to you.
Thanks so much, Danny, and thank you, Waterkeeper, for the opportunity to be here today to talk a little bit about the Alliance, the work that we do both along the Scajaquada corridor in our community and regionally in terms of environmental improvements. And our mission is really simple, as Danny said. It's to improve the quality of life in our community. And our community basically runs from the Niagara River over to Delaware Avenue on the east-west boundaries, and from the Scajaquada Creek all the way up to the city line on the north-south boundary. So it's about almost 4.5 square miles of land. But two of those boundaries are waterfront. So it's really important. The water and the quality of the water in our community is really important to our organization. And our goals are listed here on our first slide, which you can read, but they boil down to two things. One, environmental stewardship. We need, as a community and as a whole, we need to be aware of our environment, and we need to be working towards a balanced ecosystem and a really healthy environment, both for us currently and for the future. And then the other one is economic development. We don't have large industry in our community anymore. We are a community of small makers and small businesses. And so really revitalizing our community through economic development is critical to the success of our community and the revitalization of it. Adam, next slide, please. So our environmental initiatives, which we're going to talk, which are relevant to today's topic, we manage 3 community gardens. They produce about 800 pounds of food a year, and they provide community event space and activity space, safe space for members of the community, kids in the community to come and play and just relax and enjoy being outdoors. We have Riverside Park, and we have one other park in our community at the opposite end. So we are actually not only in a food desert, which is why our community gardens are important, but we're also in a park desert. So community gardens serve as both. We do an environmental speaker series, which is actually kicking off in October, and you can go to our website, which I'll put in the comments later, to see what our speaker series is going to be all about. And we do beautification projects. We give out thousands of bulbs for planting in the community. We do sunflower seeds. We've started a seed bank. We have a native tree beds in one of our community gardens that we grow, and then we re-tree parts of the community. We do tree giveaways annually in conjunction with the DEC. We host really, really free markets to be able to take things, prevent things from going into landfills by having people bring things they no longer need, love, or want, and giving them free to members of the community who may need them, love them, or want them. We've started the Urban Treks Hiking Challenge to get people into the urban parks in the city of Buffalo and explore how beautiful our city parks are. We started a pilot program called Lots of Clover, where we are encouraging the city of Buffalo to take vacant lots and seed them with clover rather than grasses. One, for the environmental benefits that clover provides to the ground, but also low maintenance and great for pollinators. We are launching next month a residential air quality monitoring program. We're in the process of wrapping up our habitat project, where we have certified the City of Buffalo, Erie County. We're working on certifying Niagara County, and we are working with the Chautauqua Watershed Conservancy to get Chautauqua County certified as National Wildlife Federation habitat, community habitats. And I'll show you why that's important in the next slide. We're also active members and founding members of the Scajaquada Corridor Coalition, and we partner with multiple other organizations on environmental initiatives like the NOAA project with Waterkeeper. Next slide, Adam. The Habitat Project, probably one of my favorite ones that we've been doing over the last couple of years. And basically what we want to do with certification, this grassroots effort, this is literally 1 yard at a time. We are getting people to plant purposefully with the idea of wildlife in mind. This certification, by qualifying Niagara County, Erie County, and Chautauqua County as certified habitat communities through the NWF program, we will create the first NWF certified wildlife corridor in the country. It will span the entire waterfront side of Lake Erie on the New York State side. We're excited about this because anybody can do this. We have certified traffic triangles by putting in some native plants and water features. We have certified parks and farms and anything and everything in between. You can do this in an urban setting, and it really shows the importance of how environmental stewardship on the part of humans can actually help improve the environment for the wildlife. And in urban areas like the city of Buffalo, as we start displacing our wildlife with more development along areas where they have been traditionally living, we need to make sure that we're not destroying them, because they do all bring value. So nobody's freaking out when the fox is walking down their street in the middle of the afternoon. So that's what we do.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that overview. And you guys are certainly busy over at BRRA. Next up, we have Locke Tran and Sylvan Ashbrook from Grassroots Garden. Sylvan facilitates the growth and expansion of Grassroots Garden's land trust and assists with various projects and operations of Grassroots Gardens, including working with individual volunteers, growing native plants, and assisting gardeners with various conservation strategies. They have worked with native plants, pollinator conservation, GIS, seed sovereignty, sorry, that one's a tongue twister, and environmental education and interpretation. Locke sees to the operations and logistics of the Grassroots Gardens school and community networks, while assisting and carrying out our various programs related to community engagement and empowerment through community gardens. He's worked in the field of food security, nutrition sensitive agriculture, and community focused agriculture. I will pass it over to Sylvan and Locke.
Hi, everybody. As Danny said, I am the program manager at Grassroots Gardens. So quickly give you a background about the work that we do and who we are as an organization. So our mission is to share knowledge, power, and resources to grow healthy food, heal systematic harm, and strengthen neighborhood connections through community gardens. Our vision is to create a lasting network of land and people that grow healthy communities together. So everything that we do is based around, as our name suggests, gardens and community gardens. We are a small nonprofit that helps communities, neighborhoods, organizations, schools start and maintain community gardens that serve their immediate community and the greater health of the community of Buffalo and Niagara Falls as a whole. So we serve, as I said, our proper limits are the city of Buffalo and Niagara Falls. And we work with, various groups that aren't just, a group of neighbors, but we also work with, religious organizations, we work with block clubs, pantries, anybody who has space that they want to turn into a community garden for the public benefit. We will work with them to help start and continue to maintain those kind of public garden spaces for the community. So how we go about the work that we do is we offer a lot of different kinds of support to help people start a community garden in their neighborhood. So one of the more important things that we are able to offer people, especially just like neighbor groups, is that we are able to provide communities access to a lot of the vacant land that you see across Buffalo and Niagara Falls. Given Buffalo's history of deindustrialization and the growth of the vacant lots, especially on the east side of Buffalo, we are we started out as a way for community members to take back that space that has been neglected and, is full of trash and isn't mowed regularly, and turning it into something beautiful. So we have a master lease with the city of Buffalo where we are able to lease out certain city lots for the benefit of the community by turning it into community gardens. We also offer liability insurance for those spaces and for all of our community gardens so that people can, get through that administrative barrier for gardening in their community with their neighbors. We also provide material support for our community gardens in the form of soil, lumber to build raised beds, plants, flowers, mulch, and tools, all of the general things that somebody would need if they were to start gardening. And we also work with the water board of Buffalo, anyways, to allow community gardens to use fire hydrants to, water their plants and their vegetables in their community garden. So we really believe in, empowering communities. Everything we do is, as our name suggests, a grassroots effort. It's not a top-down approach. We believe that, our focus isn't mainly just growing as many vegetables as possible. It's about growing communities by empowering communities to work together and have green space where they can, really call their own and have ownership in their surroundings. So along with, our focus on community gardens and school gardens, we also do various other kinds of programming throughout the year. Every year we do garden education classes. We do gardening workshops in the spring and in the fall, and we are open for our fall gardening workshop right now. So please check out our website if you would like to sign up for those. So we also like to, educate the public about, how to garden, why it's good for you, and all the other kinds of things that you can do with garden spaces that aren't necessarily just limited to, growing vegetables and things like that. So there's a lot more to gardening than just growing, a tomato, and we like to share that knowledge with as many people as possible. So with that in mind, we also work in this aspect that that's called, therapeutic gardening, because, there's the fact of gardens that, you can grow food, you grow flowers, it beautifies the space. But there's also a very therapeutic healing side to gardening that we have focused on as an organization. And we have an on-staff therapeutic gardener who carries out activities and works with groups and works with individuals to try to utilize, how gardens can heal somebody, can help somebody work through their trauma. And, we focus on that aspect as well as an organization, that it's not just about growing food, it's not just about growing flowers, but, the act of gardening is just healthy for your body, your mind, and your soul. Along with our school gardens, we also have a staff member that, works specifically with school gardens to, try to connect the students in, the schools in Buffalo and Niagara Falls to gardening, to try to implement that into their core curriculum and just carry out, just like gardening activities with their classes that also, try to just extend what they're already getting in school, but also introducing a way for them to connect to nature, learn how to grow food, and just have that hands-on activity where they can play in the dirt and also learn at the same time. Along with all the other programs that we do, we also have become an accredited land trust where we are able to own land now in the trust of the public benefit. And I'll pass it on to Sylvan to talk more about that and how our work ties into the work of the water keepers.
Thank you, Locke. And thank you again, Water Keepers, for putting this on. I think this is a great way to interface with the community and really get to letting everybody know the kind of work that we do. And speaking to the land trust part of Grassroots Gardens, we are very unique in that we are the first in the country community garden certified land trust. And so what comes with that is a network of various land trusts all across New York State and the country, where we can tap into those resources and the expertise that's been accumulated over time. We are currently at 4 community gardens that are in our land trust, and soon to be 2 more added to that. So we're slowly but surely adding more gardens to our land trust. And by doing so, we are protecting these spaces as community gardens into perpetuity. So that helps with the longevity of these spaces. I think for the well-being of the communities and just the peace of mind that knowing these are forever protected spaces give to our community members is incredibly important. And along with that, certification, we are utilizing conservation strategies within our garden spaces. We're encouraging many of those land trust gardens to grow more native plants to benefit our local pollinators, as well as having direct benefits on the watershed as well. So we're not just we don't just have raised beds that are growing vegetables, but having trees and shrubs and other larger plant material helps slow down the water as it comes into our environment. And I think that many of our gardens play a really large role in helping disperse that water more evenly into the ground, helping reduce runoff. In some ways, it's also helping catch litter that could be blowing in the wind, and that vegetative material catches that as well. And for some of the plants as well, they're accumulating soil toxins, so like heavy metals like lead and cadmium and things like that. So these green spaces do genuinely act, I think, as a not only to benefit the community, but to benefit the environment as a whole. And so, as we grow our land trust, I'm hoping that the more property that joins the land trust will have a larger impact across not just the Scajaquada watershed, but the other sub watersheds as well. And yeah.
Awesome, Sylvan. Thank you. And thank you, Lux, so much for giving that overview. You guys are also very, very busy. Lots of great work, though. Lastly, I'd like to introduce Helen Toledo. She is from Be Well. So Helen is the president and founder of the Buffalo Women of Environmental Leadership and Learning, Be Well. She has a bachelor's of science in environmental geosciences from the University of Buffalo and a master's of science in Great Lakes environmental science from SUNY Buff State. Helen is an environmental educator who aims to efficiently and effectively communicate environmental impacts through the use of geographic information systems, so GIS. She believes that bringing new voices, new ideas, and perspectives from within our community is crucial and critical to creating a sustainable and resilient future. With that, Helen, I will pass it over to you to talk a bit about Be Well.
Thank you, Danny. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. So to give a little bit of background about Be Well, we started as a community organization back in 2019. And we were quickly founded as a nonprofit organization by December of 2020. And our mission is to encourage and empower women to explore the natural environment, to promote sustainability and help develop leadership skills through environmental stewardship and community engagement throughout the city of Buffalo. We are a completely volunteer-run nonprofit at the moment. Our goal is to expand, but I think for us to be going into year 4, we're doing pretty good so far. Next slide, please. So although we are women-focused, our organization provides free environmental education opportunities for all individuals, regardless of race, age, gender identity, really within the city of Buffalo. And this is because diverse perspectives and experiences, as we all know, is vital to the work that we're doing. We all live in these communities. We all share this space. So it's important that we get to know each other and share it together. So along with environmental education, we attend different outreach events and work with our partners on various volunteer projects throughout the city. We've done guest speaking engagements with the Science Museum. We've done some beautification projects, we've done some cleanups, but I just added a few pictures here because I feel like pictures can just have so many words alone. And I just wanted to give an overview of like what we look like, what do we do? And really our goal is to get people outside and get people together as much as possible. So I have some photos here. The two on the left are some hikes that we've done at Rhinestone Woods. You can see that we are outside no matter what the weather is. We had a summer group hike that we did, and we also did a snowshoe hike as well. And I just wanted to highlight that event in particular because something that's really important for us is making sure that adults are able to experience that childlike wonder and connection with the outdoors. So the snowshoe hike that we did, that was my first time ever putting snowshoes on my feet. And most of the people there had never gone snowshoeing before. So were we stumbling around? Yes. But did we have fun? Also, yes. We've also done some kayaking with our friends at Waterkeeper. They've led some wonderful kayak tours for us. We've worked with our friends at Grassroots Gardens the past few years. We've done a garden swap. We're both exchanging knowledge, goods, and resources, and really just getting people from the community together. We've had people walk by and we're like, come join us, come see what's going on, come get involved. And then, like I said, we've done some beautification projects. I live in Black Rock Riverside myself, so I frequent Broderick Park and Unity Island. So we've worked with our friends at Broderick Park and, did some beautification with them. We did a cleanup at Unity Island our first year, and I will never forget, within an hour, we picked up over 200 pounds of litter. So it was only maybe like 20 of us, but that just goes to show like a few helping hands really goes a long way. But all that to say, I'm really grateful for the people that we've met, the partners that we have, and just the work that we're able to do with such a small team and how many people we're able to bring together. So if you'd like to get involved with us, we do have a website, bewell.community, that I'll put in the chat in a moment. You can subscribe to our newsletter, reach out to us if you have ideas on ways that we can bring more people together and get outside. And we also have, social media, Facebook, Instagram, and most recently LinkedIn. So yeah, that's a little bit about us, and just thank you again for allowing me to share the space with you guys today.
Absolutely, Helen. Thank you so much for sharing it with us. Next, I just want to again thank everyone for joining us, all of the organizations. I'm sure you guys could all go on and on much more about the work that you guys are doing. You're all very incredibly busy, but doing such powerful work in our community. So from Waterkeeper, we definitely want to say thank you. And I know that we're here today to really focus a little bit more on the Scajaquada Creek corridor and on our freshwater resources. So I'm hoping that we can go around the room a little bit with our three presenters, three presenting organizations, and take a stab at this question as you guys see it on the screen. So how is your organization connected to Western New York's freshwater resources? And why does clean fresh water matter to your organization particularly? Anne, I'm going to start with you if you want to answer that on behalf of Black Rock Riverside Alliance.
Absolutely. So the North District of Buffalo has the most waterfront property than any other Common Council district in the city of Buffalo. We have 4.2 miles. And as I said before, 2 of our 4 boundary areas are waterfront, the Scajaquada Creek and the Niagara River. And so for us, water is really important, and quality of water is important. And with the Niagara River being a Ramsar designated international waterway of significance, being good stewards of the environment is always a priority for the community and our organization. And with the wildlife that makes homes along both the Niagara River and the Scajaquada Creek, it's very important that we teach the human residents how wildlife and humans can coexist in urban communities, and why we need to be mindful of this in order to have a healthier and more balanced ecosystem. And we work on a lot of planning initiatives, especially now water access planning initiatives, both with the state, the county, and the city, and other organizations like Waterkeeper and the Scajaquada Creek Planning Project. And for us, especially when we're looking at waterfront development planning for recreational access and use, the quality of that water that we want our residents to be able, and visitors to be able to access and use, is a real high priority.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Anne. Sylvan, Locke, I'm not sure, do either of you want to, which of you would like to take a stab at answering this question?
Yeah, I can take a quick stab at it. So one of the things that's really important for us for gardening, right, is to have access to fresh water. in order to grow the healthy plants that provide healthy food for healthy people. And so having access to that water, not just as like rainfall, but being able to capture what we can in the form of like rain barrels and just even having like a better relationship with access to water, I think is something that we're constantly thinking about, something that we're constantly working on. And so, you know, I think tying into our land trust designation, you know, stewardship is really at the core of all the work that we do, and that the community members in these community gardens become stewards of not just the land, but the water resources that fall on and within it as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that response. Helen?
Yeah, so I mean, we all know that we're like right on the shore of one of the largest freshwater ecosystems, and how Be Well aims to connect individuals to that is by first trying to build that bridge and help people understand or realize the intrinsic value that we all share before getting into more of the nitty gritty, like ecological and biophysical components. And, you know, we try to do that by, like I said, just getting outside. So hiking, kayaking, you know, we've done yoga before, like really just any way to kind of spark that connection, because once we're able to do that, you know, we can begin working together to protect it once we realize like, wow, I do have a connection to this. This isn't just something I pass on my way to work every day. And then, you know, personally, like for me, being near the water is an opportunity to just like clear my mind. I'm constantly like overthinking or stressed out by like, you know, day-to-day activities. And, you know, we really feel a lot of people can benefit from that. So that's how we try to connect people, and why it's important.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you guys all for those really insightful replies. It shows kind of the breadth of all of the work being done. Adam, if you want to go to the next slide. So now let's dive a little bit deeper into the Scajaquada Creek corridor. It is Scajaquada September. We'd be remiss if we didn't highlight some of those pieces. So again, we'll start with Anne. If you want to answer, what work do you do specifically in the Scajaquada Creek corridor? I know that's where you guys exist, but
Yeah, so for years, the Alliance has been working with other community partners, our business associations, our community neighborhood block clubs and groups, doing Scajaquada Creek cleanups, because that seems to be, as Helen mentioned, you know, that's almost instant gratification, because in a couple of hours with a dozen people, you can see that you've removed a lot from the creek beds. But we've also been very actively engaged in, as I mentioned, planning and redesign work, and bigger long-term projects. We've been actively engaged with the GBNRTC in the redesign of the 198, which is going to have a huge impact on the creek and the surrounding land. You know, we've been encouraging people to come and have community input to the plans that have been drawn up and support the recommendations of the GBNRTC for the removal of the 198 in all of our community meetings and our community forums that we've been holding, and just getting the word out to everybody. And so everybody on the call, we encourage all of you, if you have not had input yet, to get on top of what they're suggesting and recommending, and help support this huge initiative to clean up our environment by removing the 198 as it currently exists. We've also been, as I mentioned earlier, one of the founding members of the Scajaquada Corridor Coalition since its inception, and we're gearing up to launch 2 new initiatives along the Scajaquada Creek corridor. The first, as I mentioned real briefly before when I was talking about some of the work that we do, is the air quality monitoring program, which is going to teach residents about the issues of poor air quality in our community and how it impacts their health and our environment as a whole. And we're also going to be looking at some significant tree planting initiatives over over the next few years to help both habitat creation and environmental improvements. And we are, of course, planning to be part of the Waterkeeper NOAA Scajaquada Creek planning project as one of the community partners. And again, with the idea that we want to get the community involved, we want the community's voice to be heard in what they want to see the Scajaquada Creek look like as it's reimagined through this project that Waterkeeper is launching.
Fantastic. Thank you, Anne. I will pass it over now to our friends at Grassroots Gardens.
I can also take this one unless you want to, Locke.
Go ahead, Sylvan.
All right. Yeah, so many of the, we actually have a garden that's relatively close to the buried section of the Scajaquada. I last time I looked at our maps, it looks like it's at least a couple 100 feet away. So that green space has, direct impact on that particular part of the Scajaquada, and working with working with that particular community garden on talking about the benefits of daylighting that section of the Scajaquada, and what role that green space can play in sort of reconnecting the community with the Scajaquada, I think is really important. I also hope that through this process of learning more about the Scajaquada, that we have more community members that are interested in starting community gardens close to the Scajaquada, and can reform that relationship.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sylvan. And Helen, I'll let you wrap this one up.
Yeah, so even though we work like all throughout Buffalo, I think our primary impact and connection with the Scajaquada corridor specifically is mainly at the mouth in the Black Rock Riverside area. Just because we do have like existing partners there and initiatives that we're able to help out with. And, like I mentioned earlier, like doing cleanups and like beautifying the area, because if we can, kind of attract more people over there to recognize the importance and value of the creek, of the corridor, that'll help us to continue to preserve it and make it better. And something that we aim to do probably next spring is more of our like walk and talk sessions that we were doing before. Really just casual, come out, walk with us and learn more about what's in your own backyard and your community. So just something to look out for as well.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Well, again, thank you guys all for answering those couple questions and giving us more insight into that cross connection with the Scajaquada Creek corridor and your organizations and how you're all connected to fresh water. It definitely is impactful to see all of the work being done. We have a couple questions in the chat that we will get to in just a moment. So if anyone has anything else lingering, please enter those into the Q&A. But before we jump into that, I just want to highlight a few of the things that are still up and coming during Scajaquada September. So this Thursday, from Holly, it's 4:30, 4 to 7:30. Help me.
4:30 to 7:30. Come see us at the Galleria Mall, which,
Yes.
if you didn't know, Scajaquada Creek is underneath the Galleria Mall. So we'll be there, a couple of tables sharing more information. We'll have VR goggles that shows some flood modeling we're doing as part of a coastal resiliency study at the mouth of the creek. Some partners that will be there as well. It's going to be pretty unique for Waterkeeper to find ourselves at the Galleria Mall, but come stop by and say hi.
Yes. So that is coming up this week on Thursday. Following that, this weekend, we have our Restore Scajaquada restoration planting at Forest Lawn. Volunteer spaces are, I believe, still open for that. And the registration link is on our website at scajaquadaseptember.com. So be sure to check that out if you're free Saturday morning and early afternoon and want to come help with that. We also have the last lunch and learn slated for next Tuesday, which is going to be very, very exciting. We were able to secure and work with one of our partners to get some drone footage that actually will take everyone on an aerial bird's eye view from the headwaters of Scajaquada Creek up in Lancaster, all the way along the path down into where the creek meets the Niagara River. So that 13-mile long journey will get some nice aerial footage of and be able to go over kind of the different areas of the creek and what we're seeing on screen. So please, if you haven't done so already, make sure you check that lunch and learn out next Thursday, same time, 12 to 1 in the same virtual setting. Last, to close out the month, we do have our Scajaquada scavenger hunt. Registration is still open for that. It's just $25. You can use that QR code on the screen right there if you're interested in registering for that. It's a team-based event, and it really is aimed at just bringing everyone out and into the lower Scajaquada Creek corridor. So in the city of Buffalo, in the section between Forest Lawn and the mouth of the river. It's 2 hours of looking around and poking around the different neighborhoods with your friends and family. And then we're going to be gathering at Buffalo Cider Hall afterwards for a post-hunt celebration. So more information again is at that QR code or scajaquadaseptember.com for the scavenger hunt, as well as all of the events that you guys see on screen. All right. So that about wraps up our presentation. I know we have a couple questions in, so I do want to take a moment to read those. Adam, if you want to progress to that last slide. Again, all of our organizations have entered in the chat, the email or the websites for their respective organizations, and then everyone's email that has presented today is on screen. If you have any questions or want more information on how to get involved with Waterkeeper, Black Rock Riverside Alliance, Grassroots Gardens, or Be Well, please don't hesitate to reach out to any of us. All right. So one of the questions that we received is specifically, it looks like for the Black Rock Riverside Alliance. Should we be developing an open space plan for the Black Rock and Riverside area to identify habitat and natural areas that need to be conserved, and then working to actively advocate for their conservation?
With our current habitat project, the concept of it is it's very grassroots and it's literally 1 yard at a time. It doesn't necessarily address large open spaces other than park designations, things like that. But yes, that is a concern. As we look at planning things like the River Rock Connections project and developing the connectivity of the rails to trails system and over to the Niagara River, you know, we're always very mindful of what is that going to do? What kind of displacement is that going to have on the wildlife that's calling those areas their home currently. So yeah, as we get more from the planning stages or more into the planning stages for projects like that, we definitely need to be addressing what kind of conservation areas should we be establishing? Should it look more like the fields and meadows kinds of things? I was just up at the Meadowway in Toronto looking at what they did through their electrical corridor, their electricity corridor, power corridor, by reclaiming a lot of that land area for pollinators and for bird sanctuaries and rehab areas. So yes, it is definitely a project that we need to be putting on our radar for the future, but it is also something that we always keep in mind as we're working on larger planning events or larger planning initiatives that are happening in this area. You know, we've had abandoned railroads for so long. We've had abandoned industrial plants that have been sitting around for 20, 30 years now. And those are homes. Those are homes for living things, just not human use. And so we need to make sure that they're not displaced, that they stay in the community and they're protected. And a lot of that is just also education of community members that it's okay to have them living in our community. although the turkeys are a little mean and nasty and territorial, we still want everybody to understand that, you know, there is a way for us to all coexist together. So yeah, great question. Absolutely on our radar of things that we consider when we're giving input to plans that are being developed for these for this community.
Fantastic, Anne. Thank you so much. I just want to make sure that all of the organizations have one more chance. If you guys would like to add anything else, maybe share your emails. Your emails are on screen. If you want to share any of the upcoming opportunities to get involved, please feel free to come off mute and do that now. Anne, if you want to mention anything up and coming.
Yeah, if you're going to be part of the Scajaquada scavenger hunt after you're done at Cider Hall, after awards are given out, I think around 3 or 3:30, come on over to Market Square Park, which is the corner of Niagara and Amherst Street, for the last in our series of Music by the Murals. We've done a lot of investment in that park area to make it community user space, and we've got a great jazz band playing that afternoon from 3 to 6 p.m. So come and hang out with us in the park, which is a certified wildlife habitat, and just enjoy being out there. The acoustics are fabulous. It's the last in our series of 4 that we've been doing throughout the course of the last month and a half, and we're really excited to be able to make that more user-friendly space. And as I said, we're launching our environmental speaker series. It's every Saturday in October, starting October 7th from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. In our office at 52 Amherst Street, right a block away from the park, in the old Key Bank building on Amherst Street.
Awesome. How about our friends at Grassroot Garden? Anything up and coming that you want folks to make sure that they're aware of?
Yeah, so in partnership with the Massachusetts Avenue Project and Urban Roots, we are hosting a series of free fall workshops focusing on fall gardening, community homesteading skills, and wintering. So you can check out our website at grassrootsgardens.org to find out how to register for those workshops. They're free, they're going to be awesome, and the space is almost full, so get on it fast.
I also wanted to mention too that we're revamping our volunteer program. So if individuals are interested in volunteering with Grassroots Gardens, feel free to reach out to me. And I've got a lot of different opportunities I'm working on for individual volunteers.
That's great. That's great. Helen, what about anything up and coming at Be Well?
Yeah, so we're going to be hosting our 3rd annual fundraiser on October 12th. Check out our website and socials for more info on that. We're also going to be present at the Urban Wildlife Conservation Day on October 14th. And then October 25th, we'll be doing a group hike at Buckhorn Island Park. So plenty of opportunity to get to know us. Come on and see us sometime next month.
Fantastic. Again, everyone's email is on the screen, so please reach out to folks if you have questions or want more information on how to get involved with anyone. And thank you everyone for joining us today. What a great session. We've heard so much impact that's being made in the Scajaquada Creek corridor, and we will see a new day for Scajaquada Creek, hopefully sooner than we can think of. So, all right, thank you guys so much. With that, we'll wrap it up. Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good rest of your day.